A rancher has 5,334 feet of fencing available to enclose a rectangular area bordering a river. She wants to use part of the fencing to create a partition to separate her cows from her horses by dividing the enclosure into 2 equal areas, as shown in the figure to the right. No fencing is required along the river. Let X represent the length of the center partition and complete parts A through D. So we have a nice picture of what's going on here. We have a river. The rancher is building these rectangular pastures bordering along the river, and she's creating them with this little divider called a partition in the middle, and that's so she can separate the cows and the horses. It also says to let X be that center partition, and that's the variable that's going to be used throughout. Now we want to create an expression that represents the length of the side of the fence that's parallel to the river. So that's this part right here. The length of fence that's parallel to the river, let's call that Y. Then we want to find the length of the side of the fence parallel to the river. If that center partition is 889. So they're going to give us a value of X, and we're expected to find the length of this fence here. We want to create a function that represents area. So it describes the area of these 2 pastures as a function of X. And then finally, we're going to find the area when that center partition is 889. So when we are trying to do this part A, which is to find the length of this side here, we are going to use something that is similar to perimeter. Now we have perimeter formulas for rectangles, but this has a little bit extra to consider because we're not going to use the side along the river. So we're using these sides as well as the side parallel to the river, and we have this extra partition. So we're using perimeter, but we're going to have to modify it because we're not using the river side and we have this extra side in the middle, that middle partition. So if we use the fact that these are rectangles, I know that this is also X and this is also X. So we have 3 sides that are X and 1 side that is Y. And those sides are where the fencing is going to go. So I know that that is going to equal, the sum of those will equal 5,334. I can solve for Y in terms of X by subtracting 3X on both sides. I have Y equals 5,334 minus 3X. And this is the expression that represents the side that's parallel to the river. Then if we want to find the length of that side, when we're given that the center partition is 889, we're given that value of X, we can substitute to get the value of Y, the side parallel to the river. It's going to be 5,334 minus 3 times 889. We can do that with our calculator. So that's 5,334 minus 3 times 889 and that gives 2,667. And the units that we're using in this problem, let's see, are feet. So that's 2,667 feet. So then we want to create a function that represents area, the area of these two enclosures. So if we're finding the area, we're going to find the area of this big one here. And we can use our normal area formula, which is length times width. So our area function will be x times y, length times width, but we had an expression for y from part A. So that's x times 5,334 minus 3x. And we can use the distributive property to write this as 5,334x minus 3x squared. So now we have a function that represents the area of those enclosures. And then the last part here, we're now given that the center partition is 889 feet, and we want to know the area, so we can substitute that into our area function. Area of 889, that's going to be 5,334 times 889 minus 3 times 889 squared. So we'll use our calculator again to work that out. That's 5,334 times 889 minus 3 times 889 squared. And it looks like a really big number there. That's 2,370,963. And the units there would be square feet. Now there is a simpler way to get that value. We have the length and width here that we could just multiply together as well to get the area. So 889 times 2,667, let's see that in the calculator. So 889 times 2,667 also gives us that 2,370,963. So I wrote this backwards. So we get 2,370,963 square feet. Thank you for checking out my videos. Have a great day.